Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Reds Rundown Podcast, hosted by two lifelong Reds fans and journalists. I'm Rob, he's Joe, and we appreciate you taking the time to join us today. Joe, we start off every show by asking you, how you doing? We are getting closer and closer to the NFL Draft. I know you've been working on that. We'll have some cool stuff going on over at the Game House for that. We already do, but we got some new things that'll be coming out here over the next week or so. Including all your draft profiles. I know you have been hard at work.
Yeah, I got a lot more these next 10 days or so for that. That's exciting. What isn't exciting is the Reds. I've let this team emotionally control how I feel again after a lot of self-work. This is going to be, I think, a fun show, Rob, because this is like, I know I said a couple weeks ago that I gave everyone 2 to 3 weeks to start a season, at least for the hitters, and then I think pitchers get a little bit more time before we really settle in, but oh boy, do I have some thoughts, and am I ready to talk about it?
Yeah, I'm intrigued. You would think that we would learn, Joe, after all these years, to not let the Reds control us emotionally. Luckily for me, I was busy during a lot of the Reds games, so I was watching on my phone and doing other things, so I was able to distract myself a little bit this weekend. I still obviously saw all of it, to my dismay, for the most part, but that's how it goes sometimes. So, yeah, as always, we are going to get into what we're going to do today. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, though, if you're here over on YouTube. If you're not and you are listening anywhere else that you get your podcasts, feel free to head over to YouTube. We also do this show live where you can see our faces right now. I got some stuff up for Pokemon. I do a bunch of Pokemon coverage as well. So if you're wondering what these posters are, that's what they are for right now for my other videos. But today, Joe, we are going to get into the question of the day, which is going to be, what is your panic level? I want to remind everybody, including myself and Joe, that the Reds are 2 games above 500. They are in second place in the Central by 1 game, and they do hold a wild card spot right now. So it may not seem like it, but there's hope there, right, for sure. And we're only a couple weeks into the season. It is just April. So I will put that there for your panic levels. But the team still has not been hitting, and the pitching had a really bad week. So, you got to balance that out. The games this past week, as always, we'll talk about Marlins Angels here in just a minute. Jose Trevino went on the IL. We'll talk about that and get some updates on a couple other lefties. And then we will talk Giants and Twins, as that's who the Reds will be playing this week, Joe. So, yeah, let's hop right into it here, into the 4-game series in Miami. The Reds would start off the series and continue, and would end, their streak going to 7-3. They would win 2-0. Brandon Williamson would bounce back in a huge way. The bats would still not necessarily get going, but Sal Stewart would drive in Elly de la Cruz for a run, and then the Reds would get a big insurance run from Tyler Stevenson on a home run off of Jansen Junk, who pitched extremely well. He was just hitting his spots. He wasn't big strikeouts or anything, but the big story for the Reds was that Williamson would bounce back 3 hits for one of the hotter offenses in baseball at the time. 6 2/3 innings, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. Brock Burke, Santillan, and Pagan would all nail it down, as Pagan would get his 4th save. But the big problem here, Joe, is that the only one who still was hitting with runners in scoring position was Sal Stewart. He would be 1 for 6. But TJ Friedl would be getting himself off the schneid. He would go 2 for 4 in this game, which would be extremely helpful for the Reds' cause. They would win an absolute just weird game, but a great game for the Reds, as they would get to 8-3, and we're sitting there thinking, oh man, this team might be crazy good. They would win 6-3. After tying it up in the 9th, they were shut out by Sandy Alcantara for almost the entire game, but a double from Matt McLain, a walk for Elly de la Cruz would lift him, and Anthony Bender would come in, and the Reds would get the timely hitting that they needed. Sal Stewart would get a sac fly, and the Reds would bring it right on back and tie the game at 2. They would head into the 10th inning, and the Reds would just pour it on them, scoring 4 runs, including a Nathaniel Lowe single that would give them the lead, and then a Matt McLean almost looked like a grand slam, but double. Looked like balls were going out into the outfield to die in this one, Joe. Andrew Abbott would have a solid start, 5 1/3, 2 earned runs, 2 strikeouts, 2 walks, but the bullpen would really be the ones who would lock it down and give this team an opportunity to get the win in extra innings. But this is when the not fun stuff started, Joe. The Reds would lose 7-4 in the third game of this series. They would get a little bit more off the schneid in terms of runs. They would get 2 in the first, 2 in the fifth, including 1 home run off of Yuri Perez. It looked like they had Yuri Perez on the ropes early on, but some unfortunate timing and hitting would get them out of the inning. TJ Friedl, again, would have 3 hits in this game. Sal with 2, A. Eugenio Suarez with 2. Noelvi Marte would get his first hit in a while as well. But Brady Singer had one of his games that he just could not get out of the third inning. He has a couple of these a year. 10 hits, 5 earned runs, 3 Ks, giving up the 1 big home run as well. Mole, Phillips, and Johnson would kind of clean things up, but this was a game that you were really hoping for, and the Reds were not able to pull it off. Then, for some reason, Max Meyer seems to have the Cincinnati Reds number, where nothing would get done. McLean would scatter a few hits. Elly, Sal, Spencer Steer would have a couple hits to get his average back up to 200 at this point. But Rhett Lauder had his first bad game, you could argue, of his entire career so far. 8 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. His stuff was just not there. And then Franco was not able to keep it within, scoring distance there for the Reds, as Sal Stewart would yet again get the only run for the Reds on a home run. And this series was weird, Joe. I don't know how else to explain it. It felt like, they played a good game. They won a 2-0 game, and then, they conquered their demons again with an, extra innings win. But they just their at-bats are horrible, Joe. I'll let you go on your rant first since I've just been talking for a bit, but I think by the time that we finish this conversation about this series and the Angels series, the number one thing that I want to talk about is their at-bats, but I'll let you go. What were your thoughts on this Marlins series?
Yeah, very disappointing series. This was one that I think we needed to take 3 out of 4. I mean, at the worst, if you take 2 out of 2, at least maybe you can take the next series. So I guess it's not like the worst thing in the world. But I'll just go game by game. Brandon Williamson was much better game 1. That's good. His stuff was really moving. Sal Stewart had a great series overall. He started in game 1. Glad that he put on a show for the hometown fans, for his fans that were there from Miami. Stevenson had a big home run. That was cool. Game 2, in all reality, we should have lost that game. They took out Sandy Alcantara. There was minimal damage done in the 9th inning, and they took him out, and then Marlins blew it. It was stupid. The manager don't know what we're doing here. He was mowing people down, and that is a lucky win. We'll take those. I'm glad that we stepped up and rose to the occasion. But if there's any better managing on the other side, it is probably a win for the Marlins. We lose the series, and I'm having an even bigger freak out today. So glad to take advantage, but that's how it goes. Game 3 and 4, Singer needs to get going here soon. It's not, the innings. I was glad the first couple games did not go well in that third game. Rhett Lauder is kind of coming back down to earth with that next start in the game 4. And Rob, I guess to the point, I'll get more into the bats when we talk about it later, but this is what we said, the Reds are playing well. That's because Chase Burns and Rhett Lauder are pitching way above what anyone could have expected them to. Well, now we have Singer with the bad start. We have Lauder with a bad start. And the offense isn't compensating. It's not pulling its weight. It is frustrating as hell, and I'm very mad. So frustrating series overall. I thought, after taking the first 2 and stealing that second game, I thought, maybe we'll win 3, maybe we'll win 4. But that sets us up for, hey, we had some bad starts against the Marlins. The frustrating thing was, for us, a lot of our hits, the ball was dying. Cowboy talked about it all series long. It's a tough place to play. We could not just get the ball just a couple of extra feet over the fence, which would have helped a lot. For them, they were hitting the ball pretty hard. They were doing really well, doing what they should have done. And it seemed like the end of this series, a lot of the themes that I just mentioned with Louder and Singer struggling, that went into the next series too with the Angels, which is even more frustrating series for me.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting about this series is it felt like, okay, you lose to Alcantara, that's fine. That is what it is. They come back, they win, and you're like, oh, wow, okay. Like, if you win one of these next two games, I mean, again, Mayer, whatever, has been solid against the Reds in his career. I don't know why. Yuri Perez, they had on the ropes, right? And I respect the fact that, Francona needed to give Singer time to kind of, try to get himself out of those situations. What was interesting to me with Singer, Joe, is I'm watching him and, like, some of his stuff he was spotting really well, but then he'd just have, like, one bad pitch in the at-bat that would get crushed. And I was like, I was just confused because this seems to happen way too often, and it was very frustrating for me, Joe, because I'm sitting here and I'm like, all right, man, like, this guy is just barely up. Like, you can tell, I think they talked about it even on the broadcast, and it's fairly obvious. When he's living low, he is fine, right? And the problem was he was like, 4 inches up. And you may not realize that, but, in baseball, that is a pretty significant deal. Even just 2 or 3 can be a big problem, right? So I'm expecting that he's going to be able to figure it out. He's just got to, I think, work on his spots just a little bit more. Even with Rhett Lauder, like, I'll be honest, and we'll talk about Chase Burns here in a minute too. I'm not overly worried about the pitching staff because mostly of Derek Johnson and Tyler Stevenson, they have shown as a unit to be able to make adjustments when they need to, and we've seen that throughout, the tenure of Derek Johnson specifically. So I'm not too worried about their pitching, but like you said, I mean, what was really frustrating is the hitting. Just, you have a bad game, that's fine, but this team has got to hit to pick up the pitchers. Like, the pitchers carried them to their 8-3 start. You don't get that very often. You need to be able to take advantage of that and realize, okay, hey, great, the pitching carried, now it's our turn to kind of pick them up, right? We have not gotten into double digits this season yet. We have, I think, 7 runs in a game that we're going to talk about here in a moment is the most that we've scored all season. We'll get into the bats a lot deeper here, Joe, but it is, I think, specifically in the Wednesday game where they had Yuri Perez on the ropes very early on in the game where they could have done what exactly ended up happening to Singer, and they just couldn't do it. It's very frustrating to me, and I'm, even in the game yesterday, Joe, like, we'll get into it here in a minute, but it's infuriating. So, I don't know. If you got anything else, we could talk more Marlins, but I think it's just time to get in the Angel series because I think it's the same problems that we've been having.
Yeah, there's going to be more from the Angel series than I think the Marlins, so let's get to it.
All right, Angel series. Here we go. The Reds would lose 10-2. That is right. You heard that right. 10-2. Chase Burns would get chased. He would get through 5 1/3, but he'd give up 5 earned runs, including 2 home runs, 4 walks, 2 Ks. This is the duality of a young pitcher. We'll get into that in a minute. Elly would hit a home run in this game as well, but the offense was still anemic. 4 hits, 2 from Gino, 1 from Elly, and 1 from Tyler Stevenson. What's crazy is that the Reds have been taking a lot of walks, Joe. They did walk 5 times in this game to only 4 strikeouts, which is, I know that people are, doom and gloom, that includes me, but I will admit that they're doing well with that. But 0 for 4 again with runners in scoring position. I mean, PJ Higgins got a strikeout in this game. Kyle Nicholas and Sam Mull. Sam Mull would have his first bad game of the season. Kyle Nicholas, who just got brought up before this, would not be able to do it. And Kachanowicz, this was one of the games that I was watching on my phone, so I couldn't hear it. He pitched himself a good game. Weak contact, did walk 4 guys, but the Reds just could not take advantage of it. Then the Reds would win the Saturday game. This was a much better one overall. Spencer Steer would hit a home run, but again, the frustration is that the Reds would score 4 in the first, 1 in the second, They did pitch off Clausen, or they did chase off Clausen, but this kid was erratic at best. He looked nervous. The Reds would walk 9 times in this game and 6 Ks. If you combine that with their hits, technically, 16 walks plus hits per, not per inning, but through this game. So not too bad there. Brandon Williamson, his pitch count was just up. That was his biggest problem there. He was also walking guys. He would be able to get himself out of trouble. But 3 hits, 3 earned runs, 6 walks, 3 Ks. The bullpen would come in and do their job once again. Shout out to the bullpen, by the way. Even through all these other struggles, the bullpen has been getting the job done for the most part. They're allowed to have one person have an okay-ish bad game. But the bigger problem here, Joe, is that the Reds should have probably scored more. They went 1 for 10 in scoring with runners in scoring position, and they still won the game 7-3, thanks to some wild pitches and other stuff. And we felt, maybe a little bit better. Hey, you're going into the Soriano game. Yeah, it's going to be tough, but you got Andrew Abbott going on Sunday, but it did not matter because Andrew Abbott struggled mightily. Probably the worst game of his career. 8 hits, 7 earned runs, 2 walks, 1 strikeout, 1 home run given up. What is interesting is this year, he's not giving up the, multiple home runs. He's just giving up more hits. And he's not getting the strikeouts right now, so he is struggling a little bit. What's even more infuriating is that if Abbott, and specifically if Kyle Nicholas had been able to keep some of those runners from scoring from Abbott, then this could have been a game. The Reds would go on to score 3 runs in the 8th and 3 runs in the 9th on an Elly home run. What was even worse was that we had bases loaded, nobody out, and it's unfortunate because Matt McLean has actually been hitting the ball well. She's been going right at people, and this is a prime example of it. Smokes a ball right at Perez there at third base, and unfortunately, Noelvi Marte, who is, I think, struggling mentally in a very big way right now, makes just a horrific mistake, thinking that ball is through, and either that or not knowing how many outs there were. I don't know what the reasoning was. But he tries to get there from third and could not get back to the bag. Double play. Very next at bat, Elly hits a 3-run home run. Even if you have 1 out there and Elly hits the grand slam, the Reds are within 2, and you've got your best hitters coming up, or 2 of your best hitters of your 3. You got Sal Stewart and Eugenio Suarez, who's those are 2 of the only 3 hitters I would venture to say who've been doing what is expected of them so far this season. So the Reds would drop it. Soriano has been outstanding all season. He did put in another 7 innings, 2 hits, 3 walks, 10 Ks. He has lowered his ERA to a .33. He is on his way to being in Cy Young candidacy if he continues to do what he is doing right now. But, I don't know what else to say, right now about this Angels series. That's not going to be all-encompassing. They probably should have played this team better. I will give the Angels credit where credit is due. They have a lot of professional hitters on this team, and what I mean by that is just veterans for the most part, especially early on in their lineup, Joe, and they took a lot of professional at-bats, and they looked really solid doing so. So credit where credit is due, and like I said, Soriano was, that dude's lights out. I don't know if he is pitching that well all season. I really genuinely believe what I said earlier, where he is going to be in Cy Young candidacy without a doubt.
Yeah, he is. No excuses, though. Terrible series. Awful. Bad. Again, said it earlier, Burns had a rough start. You have to pick these young guys up. They are pitching so much better than we thought, and they have a rough start and they lose. The offense only gives them 4 hits. Come on. You have to do better than that. This is awful. Williamson, like you said, high pitch count bounced early. That happens. Again, glad the offense did pick things up. Nathaniel Lowe, big 3 RBIs. Cool story with him and playing against his brother. We talked about his mom passing this spring, and it's cool that they got to spend some time together and everything, too. Some nice specials in the game on that. Third game, Abbott didn't pitch poorly. I think there was some weak contact that just got through. It kind of piled up. He'll tell you, and he did say after the game he should have executed a little bit better, but I'm not too concerned about him. It was just one of those games that he has where he is a contact pitcher, and you do have these starts sometimes. But again, can the offense pick you up? So many runs this series, Rob, were scored on pass balls, wild pitches, the ball hitting the catcher's face mask, errors. It was so bad. This is the worst offense in the National League right now. OPS 623. The only team lower than them in the league is the Chicago White Sox, who stink.
Yep.
We are so bad. We need to get things going. All I'll say after this is, yes, the pitching's still fine. I'm fine with that. The bullpen, good for them. Um, the hitting needs to get better ASAP. Everyone has 1 week. I said to give everyone about 2 to 3 weeks to start the season. They have 1 week to figure it out. That goes for everyone not named Elly and Sal Stewart. They're not playing well, none of them, and they need to get things going. First thing that's going to change for me, I think, is firing Chris Valleca. It's time. If things don't go well, we have 3 players with a positive WAR. The other one is out of the Elly and Sal. It's Tyler Stevenson, who has 2 home runs and obviously doesn't play every day because he's a catcher and everything. But this is awful. And then the base running errors by Marte. Ball was hit kind of hard to third base, but it was a routine play. What are you doing? This team is so frustrating right now. I'm not saying the season's over. I'm saying if we want this team to go from, oh, we made the playoffs, to actually being a good team, I'm not seeing that so far this year. And real changes need to be made by 90% of the players who are position players, I should say, 90% of the position players and Chris Valleca. This is awful. This is so bad that they spend this much money on this team and have so many good prospects, and their OPS is 623 against teams that don't overly have the greatest pitching either. That's the sad part is we started the season saying, oh, they struggle with Crochet, they struggle with Skeens. And yes, Oriano's good this week, but for the most part, these are pitchers they need to be taking advantage of. You mentioned it with the Marlins series. Perez on the ropes, we didn't take advantage of. So many times in this Angel series, we had guys in scoring position, and Marte gets thrown out, or we just don't get him in. So this is so bad. It's only 2 weeks. We can fix it. But heads will roll for me, in my mind, if we have 1 more week, we have this poor performance. Because it's you can't pay for this team. You can't have these guys who are young and have potential and have these issues this late into it. 623 OPS. It's cool that we're walking a little bit more. 205 average. We rank near the bottom of the league in almost every statistical category. What are we doing? Sal Stewart's our best hitter. Elly's been heating up. I really like his power from the right-hand side of the plate.
Been
He's 4
crazy
home runs
good.
and 22 at-bats on the right-hand side of the plate. That is way better than he's ever done. This is awful. We need to get it fixed. And again, like I said, heads will roll. I'll start with the pitching coach. Things have not been good since he started here. That includes last year. And then if it doesn't go from there, I'll start with the players too. Obviously, we're going to have a lot of talks about Marte, who might need to be sent down. We're going to talk a lot of talks about, I mean, Brian Hayes has been bad. We have so many guys. And, like, yeah, some of it's like they're hitting the ball decently hard. We're getting to the point now for position players, Rob, where the luck's running out, and it's like this is kind of what you do. Like 100 plate appearances where people start really judging you on your season. And after this week, we're going to be there. So, yes, I'm very frustrated. This offense is very bad right now. I'm not saying they're bad overall or going to be bad in the future, but it has been awful to be a Reds fan. And somehow we're 9-7, which is nice.
Yeah, that's the duality of all of this, is that the Reds are still 9-7. What I will say is looking deeper into it, like, I want to give just a quick shout out to Brian Hayes. I have never seen a more unlucky hitter, Joe, in my life. I mean, this dude has been, you would think with the way the ball is coming off of his bat that he would be batting like 280 or something like that. I mean, really and truly, I know a lot of people want to crap on him. I know his average is obviously abysmal, but I am telling you, this guy is actually making very good contact. I mean, it's just like every hit that he has. I mean, you have people in the dugout after every time he gets out where he is just in total disbelief, and people are like, dude, it's going to come, it's going to come. He looks like a very different hitter. I wanted to start with him, Joe, because I don't think that people understand that he is really, his average is, I do not think, telling of the way that he has been playing. The bigger problem is, and this includes him, their at-bats are awful. They are horrific. I was thinking about this last night before I went to bed, Joe. I was sitting there, I'm laying in bed, I'm trying to fall asleep, and I'm like, okay, what is the real crux of the issue for this team? And I'm going to give you, there's one thing. It's just, there's no plan for any hitter, it feels like, including Elly at most of the time, other than Sal Stewart when they go up there to hit. And that does come back on coaching at times. Because even Gino, right? Joe, Gino has actually been getting more singles than I think anybody thought that he would this season. He has 13 hits this season. Only 3 have gone for extra base hits. That is not normal Eugenio Suarez. This is not to say that his power is gone, by the way. His power is still very much there. What I think this is that this is a mindset that this team has where it's okay to just make contact. But the problem is that they're still striking out at a pretty high pace. And what's also frustrating is they're actually still one of the better teams in terms of walks, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. The problem is that they are not even just hitting. Their on base percentage, Joe, is one of the worst in baseball, even though they are, let me see here, I got it. They are 8th in baseball in walks. They're only a couple behind being a top 5 team in walks in all of baseball. Their problem is that they're just not hitting the ball when they need to. They're getting more at-bats, which is great, but they're just not producing, and they are the worst team still in the league with runners in scoring position. What I think is happening is that until there are runners in scoring position, they are just trying to, make contact, get on, get somebody over, and then when there are guys on bases, they're taking these big hacks, they're watching their pitches. Like, there's just something fundamentally to me, Joe, that is wrong, because there's just not, you don't just see all of these relatively good hitters, because I've been hearing it all week on the radio, because I've been driving a lot. And they're talking about, Spencer Steer's not actually, he's been a pretty below average player. And, I don't know, Tyler Stevens has never really hit in his career. They just need to be their average selves. You're talking about a guy in Spencer Steer, again, who is a 20 home run guy. I've done this before, I'm going to do it again. Who's a 20 home run guy, 85 RBIs, 250 batting average. He's kind of started to pick it up a little bit. 176. He is a known slow starter. So is Tyler Stevenson. These guys have to get going, and their approach at the plate is where it starts. Their at-bats are awful. And whoever is out there telling them that against these really good pitchers, by the way, that they need to be swinging at the first good pitch that they see, that is the person who needs to go, I'm not going to drop an F-bomb on here, but off. They just need to stop. That is such a bad approach. You can do it first time through the order. That is fine. But when Soriano is pitching as well as he is, and you're into the 6th inning, and you get into a 4-pitch inning in the 6th inning, Joe, that is unacceptable, in my opinion. When nobody is hitting, I don't care how good that pitch looks. I think Larkin was talking about, these are professional hitters. They know when a good pitch is going to come, they should hit it. No, absolutely not. Right now, none of them, outside of Sal Stewart and Elly De La Cruz, are hitting the way that they should be. So maybe they should be taking a couple more pitches, because they have already shown that they hit the bullpen a lot better than they do starting pitching. This has been shown already. If that is going to be the case through the season, then they need to get as many 5 frickin' pitch at bats as they possibly can. You get 2 times through the order, and you're already sitting there at 85 pitches. Joe, that's how you win games. Right there. If you could get the starting pitcher out in the 5th inning instead of the 7th, 8th, 9th innings of games, right? That is what's going to change everything. And I'm not saying I don't want these hitters to be aggressive, but they are being overly aggressive, and they are swinging at awful pitches. I mean, the one mark that I will have against Key Brian Hayes, against Noel V. Marte, Spencer Steer, I'm calling them all out right now. Friedel, to a certain degree, he still has had some of the better at-bats as a team. Matt McClain, Tyler Stevenson, even Elly, right? They are swinging at awful pitches in good counts, and that is killing them. They are swinging at awful pitches on the very first pitch, and that is killing them. You have to be more disciplined. You have to have better at-bats. And you could look at the freaking walks and be like, Rob, you're wrong. They're still walking at a very high rate. Well, I'm just going to remind you that Sal Stewart's leading the team with 13 freaking walks and 10 hits. He is quite literally doing it all and carrying this team in a very substantial way. TJ Friedel is having the second best at bats. People don't want to hear that either, Joe, but he is. He's still walked 10 times this season, which is a very good rate. Once he gets a little bit more going, I think he's going to be just fine. But this team has a long way to go in terms of hitting, and it has to start with each at bat being better. I don't care if you extend it by 1 or 2 pitches, but if they can do that, they are going to make a significant difference. And I'm tired of these first pitch up and in fastballs where they're doing these pop-ups and just swinging and rolling over the ball on, curveballs away on the first pitch too. That shit has to stop, and it has to stop right now. That is where coaching does come into it as well. I know that they have to make their own decisions as batters once they get into the plate, but this is a team mentality. You can see it. It's prevailing across the entire lineup, to the bench, everything. That's my rant. There you go. Enjoy.
Yeah, no, I think the aggressiveness at the plate was a fine thing to start doing, but it got to a point where it's now not in a good spot. And to explain that, I think it's more of a, hey, you wait for a fastball at a good location first pitch, and if it's there, you fucking crush it.
Yep.
And that's not what's happening. They're swinging at curveballs in the dirt, and it's just annoying as hell. So that is good. The approach has to get better. And just to every other point, Rob, I'm done with all the advanced stats. I'm done with these guys who are hitting the ball hard. We've done this for 3 or 4 years. Get your regular stats up. Slugging percentage, on-base percentage, average, home runs. I don't care what you like. RBIs, I don't care. I don't want to care about your bat speed. I don't care about the exit velo. I don't care about anything. I want these guys to actually be good baseball players and not just have the good predictive stats. Because guess what? Oh, we want more Will Benson. He swings the bat hard. What's he doing? Nothing. So I'm done with that. We got this week. I'm going to give everyone a pass, and after that, I think heads are going to roll. Chris Valaika, top of the mountain there. But I'm done with the predictive stats. I'm done with people who are hitting the ball hard. I'm done with all of that. Hit the ball hard, put it in the bleachers, and let's go get some runs. I'm done with the whole, well, this guy's kind of playing good. We are so bad for a team that we have right now, and something has to change. It's not going to be Terry, and I don't want it to be Terry. I think Chris Valaika is first, but if not, after that, players, again, do need to have that personal accountability, and I am very frustrated. A lot of it is approach, but a lot of it is stuff we've seen over the years, and I am just so disappointed in this team. Season's not over. They can definitely fix this. This week can go well, but I think you have to have a line in the sand where if you're not producing, whether that's people have Rob, the thing I think frustrates me the most is people have like their specific least favorite players on the team right now, where they're picking apart on social media, whether it's Friedel or Marte. It's all of them, which stinks. So everyone is going to be on the chopping block in my mind after this week if they do not start playing better. And what makes it even, I think, a little bit tougher for this week too is it's just not the same type of easy schedule that we've had. Now, there's a little bit difference here. Like the Giants have started off pretty poorly. People think they're going to find their level. They also don't have a great offense this year. They're worse than us in runs scored. We're going to talk about them a little bit later. But the Twins are a team that's supposed to be tearing it down, and they're top of the AL Central right now. So I don't know if it's going to get better. But this is what I'm so frustrated by. We can't keep on sitting here and saying, well, the hits are going to come. The hits are going to come. It didn't come last year. I mean, we had a little bit of a heat at the end of the year. It wasn't good. This team needs to go from playoff team to good team to next year contender to get with the timeline with all the guys they have. And it's just so frustrating. So, yeah, like I said, I think your point about the approach is really good. And then, like I said, after this week, it's going to be for me, let's get this figured out this week. And then next week, I will have probably opinions about who needs to go and who needs to stay. And it sucks to do that 3 weeks no baseball season when you're 9-7, but you just can't be that bad. In almost every major statistical category besides walks, you can't be that bad. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I will put in here, and then I'll flip the 2 points that we have here, Joe, between the Blade conversation and this one here, where even if this team was batting mostly in the low 200s, I don't think people would be as worried because I think this team would be like 2 more games up. I think there's a real world where they'd be like 11-5, and we're sitting here like, holy crap, this pitching's really good. Yeah, the hitting needs to step up, but, some people are getting some stuff done. I am of the belief that they are going to get better, Joe. I really do believe that. I think the problem right now is like I said, I think it's the approach. The approach just has to be better from these guys. There are some guys who had better weeks. Friedel got the majority of his hits so far this season this week. Spencer Steer the same way. Stevenson's been playing, like you said, a lot better as of late. I think you'll start to see them continue to kind of come out of their shell. But Clayton has been, I think, better than people are giving him credit for so far this season, Joe. Like, they're all very close, it feels like. It's that bottom third of the lineup that is really, I think, the bigger crux of the issue, where Will Benson has really slowed down. I don't know if that's a huge surprise. Jose Trevino, when you put him in, has not been great. Yeah, everybody was very high on Dane Myers. Like, I know he's still batting 300, but I don't know. If that's going to be the case, then they need to play him more. It just still feels like they're very situational with him. And Noelvi Marte, I mean, oh boy, God bless, man. I don't know what to do with this kid. I mean, his at-bats are just awful right now, and I can't tell if it's because he's really only gotten 30 at-bats. Like, we're complaining. We've said, you got to get 100 at-bats right now. Well, he's splitting time in a pretty significant way at the moment. He's got, for guys who we thought were going to be starters, he's got like basically 25 to 30 less at bats than everybody else. So I don't know. It's not even just that. The one thing I do wonder as well, Joe, and this is just a thought that popped into my mind. I'm curious. Like, the lineup has been so inconsistent, and I don't know if maybe that's throwing guys off where we're doing too much, cooking, where we're trying to mix and match too much. Like, I would really like to see a lineup for the most part that is the same outside of, maybe Key Bryan comes out and you put in Trevino or Higgins, to give Tyler Stevenson the day off. But like a mostly consistent lineup for the next, I don't know, 4 or 5 games and see if that helps. I don't know. It just feels like for Noelvi Marte specifically, like he's just not even had a chance to get into a rhythm because you don't know when he's playing, and I just don't know. Like, and he's like, realistically only playing against either lefties, which he's not good against, or really strong righties, which everybody struggled against. So I don't know. I'd love to see him go into a game where he's going against a guy who is just like, we're going to be facing Tyler Mahle, I believe, in the second game of this series on Wednesday. Like, I would like to see Noelvi Marte play that game. I would just like to see it and see if that's going to be something that could happen. Like, I just want some consistency with the lineup. I appreciate that. We're trying to get a guys at bats and we're trying to just see where things are at. But I think at some point, Terry's just kind of got to plant his flag and be like, all right, these are the 9 guys who are going to mostly start every day. And, Benson or Marte, I don't care which one, whichever one he picks, just it needs to be that one. You're going to be coming off the bench because right now you have a right field who cannot hit lefties, period. If Noelvi Marte's not going to be able to be that guy, then maybe you're just putting Dane Myers in against lefties. And that's, and then right field becomes Spencer Steer's job or something like that. I don't really know what that is, Joe, but jumping in real quickly here because normally I would not do this. Normally it would be me and Joe obviously talking, but we just wrapped up podcasting. He does not have the opportunity to hop on with me right now. And the Reds did make a move. They did move and bring Rece Hinds up for Noelvi Marte, and I really quickly wanted to talk to you guys about that because, well, honestly, that's a really big news, and it will play into, obviously, the rest of the podcast. So, like I said, just a quick interruption here. Basically, my thoughts on this are pretty much what I have been talking about already on the podcast, but I think this exemplifies it even more that Noelvi Marte, I think he's been in the doghouse for a while. I think Joe talked about it on last week's show where they had a talk about him and maybe his efforts. His mental game, he's just not there right now. Getting picked off, well, not picked off, but doubled up at third base in the Sunday game, I think was... He may have still been out, but the fact that he went down the line and gave himself basically no chance to really get back to the bag, I think, and ruin a rally there really, really, I'm sure made the manager, obviously, and Tito and the rest of the managers group, probably pretty upset, right? The coaching staff pretty upset. So I'm assuming that that's probably what it is. This is kind of a, hey, go down, get right, get your mind where it needs to be, and either he will respond and he will, work his way back up to the club, or not. And Rece Hinds is going to end up being the guy we thought Noelvi Marte would be, because, Hinds is a great arm. He's just as good, obviously, in right field, probably better, just because it's his natural position that he's played for a lot longer. And as I talked about it, again, on the podcast, he's 12 walks to 15 strikeouts. He's been doing a really good job this season. I'm not really surprised to see them call him up this week. I did think next week would make more sense, but I think that they're really just kind of done with either Noelvi Marte's attitude or maybe his lack of effort or just his lack of focus. And he's going to have to figure that out down there in AAA. About Rece Hinds, this is it, in my opinion. He's either going to figure it out and he's going to be able to stay with this club, potentially even long term, or if he goes into another thing where he hits the crap out of the ball for a week and then does absolutely nothing as soon as people realize he can't hit the breaking ball away, then maybe that's going to be the case. It's going to be interesting to see, is Tito going to play Rece Hinds tonight, or not tonight, excuse me, on Tuesday for their game against the Giants? I don't know. I would anticipate that he is going to be in the lineup. He does not hit lefties very well either, funny enough, but he has been a little bit better this season. He's been actually seeing them well enough to where he's walked more than struck out against lefties so far this season. But the last time I had checked, which again was over a week ago, he had not had a hit off a lefty yet, but I think it was only like 4 at-bats or something like that. So if they really believe that he has figured it out, it is interesting that he's getting called up instead of J.J. Bleday as well. I really thought that J.J. Bleday would be the first one to call up just because he's a veteran presence. But, I mean, Rece Hinds has 5 home runs. He's batting like well over 300. You got to give him his shot here. And I hope that, Tito plays him. You don't need to put him high up in the lineup. It's fine to play him, in that 7, 8, 9 role where you've had Marte anyways. And we'll see if he can end up being the guy that we thought that Noelvi Marte was going to be. I'm really interested to see what ends up happening. I don't know exactly where I'm going to put this yet, so what I'll just say is thanks for listening to this little extra part, and yeah, I'll throw you guys back into the regular podcast. But I wanted to bring that up, and then my last thing I was going to say, and I'm going to ask you this specifically, you're saying that you're going to wait one more week for JJ Bleday and Rece Hinds? That's what your plan is right now?
Yeah, I want to give everyone, the hitters, the time that Elly said. Yeah, you're right. Like Marte maybe won't get exactly that with the way they're playing him, but I want to give everyone 2 to 3 weeks to start the season to really make sure things are figured out. This is kind of where I'm at with it. I would like to bring up one or both of them after the week if things start going poorly. I would say even after the first series this week, I think is fine if they want to do it. I think this offense needs a jolt. I think both those guys have shown some good pop in their bats down in AAA. Do different things for this team, and yeah, I think that's about where I'm at. I'm not sure calling them up today is the right call, but I think if you get 3 more games under our belts, or at the end of the week, I think that's when I would do it. And again, if they produce, cool. If not, bring the other guys back up. Bring someone else up, figure it out, because it's too much that's going on here to kind of wait on these guys to start hitting the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I will say Rece Hinds has cooled off a little bit. Looks like he may have been injured because they did take him out for a couple games. Everybody thought he was getting called up, so we'll see about that. What's really interesting is I'm looking down here at Louisville, Joe. Michael Chavez has 5 home runs and is leading along with Rece Hinds right now. He has gone on, I guess, a heater over the last couple weeks as well. So very interesting stuff there. We'll have to watch. I mean, Edwin Arroyo is starting to show some pop, Joe. Maybe we are going to need Edwin Arroyo. We kept saying maybe we don't need him. Maybe we're going to need Edwin Arroyo. I don't know. He's still very young. It's so interesting because I know everybody wants to trade everybody and go get stuff, and I agree wholeheartedly, especially in the outfield. But maybe just the timing will be right, and Edwin Arroyo ends up being the guy that we thought Marte was going to be, or something like that. I mean, I'm not sure 100%, but I will give it a week as well. But I will say this. If we get to the middle of this week and Rece Hinds has hit two more home runs, he's walked 12 times to his 15 strikeouts. Now, that will balance out in the major leagues, right? He's batting .354 right now. Shave off like 80 points, right? And you might see what you would see in the majors for him. But if he can be a guy who can hit 270, if he can be a guy who can hit 30 home runs still, and even if his walks and his strikeouts get, vastly different, instead of it being close to 50-50, I think we will take that at this point from a right field that has been absolutely anemic at this point.
Yeah, and Rob, he was actually attending a funeral for 2 days. That's why
was that what it was?
Out of the lineup.
Okay.
So he's perfectly healthy. So if that does happen and he has 2 home runs this week, and I don't think there's any reason not to call him up at that point.
I completely agree with you then. Yeah, absolutely. The last point I was going to make for these games before we get into injuries real quick, Joe, is I do really believe that Rhett Lauder, Chase Burns, Andrew Abbott, Brady Singer, I really do believe they're all going to be fine. They've, I know the other 2 young guys haven't shown it before necessarily, but, Burns had this happen right in that start against Boston. He was able to kind of get it figured out. Everybody's like, oh, he needs that third pitch. Guys, Hunter Green didn't have that either. He was just erratic, and when he wasn't erratic, he was placing the ball right over the plate. That's really what it is. when he can get a little bit more towards the corners, he is still unhittable. You just got to make sure that you're mixing up your pitches, all that kind of stuff. I'm not worried about Chase Burns, and I'm especially not worried about Rhett Lauder. Yeah, you're going to have, with contact guys, you're going to have a bad game, like we said. This was just a bad week for our 4 starting pitchers. Even Williamson technically had, actually not even, he technically had the best week out of everybody. And that's a good thing for your Cincinnati Reds. And I'm not worried about the starting pitching overall. I am starting to think that Andrew Abbott is very much a true number 2. It just feels like, we're talking about these other aces, and we're like, well, they might get that win because their person's going. I would love to be saying that about Andrew Abbott every game, but right now I don't think you or I are there yet. Maybe he proves us wrong in that regard, but I still think that he's very much a fringe 1, true number 2 guy, and in his bad games, maybe he's a 3. But overall, he's still where he should be. It's just we really still need a true ace, and we need Hunter Green to come back. We'll talk about Lodolo here in a minute too, but that is just something I wanted to point out as well. I don't know if you have any other thoughts on that, but that was the last little thing I wanted to say for this week. Is I said it earlier, I want to say it again. I very much believe, especially the starting pitchers, they are going to get it figured out. I don't know about Kyle Nicholas. We'll have to see about that one, but there are rumors right now, and there was an article that was written about it by our other TJ down in AAA, has not given up a hit or a walk yet, Joe. In 5 2/3 innings, and he's getting soft contact. He's striking out guys. There's a very real world where he is getting called up very soon from the sounds of it.
Yeah, I think starting pitching is going to figure it out too. A rough week for them, and again, just would have loved the offense to pick them up, but that's, I'm not overly concerned about them. I do think Abbott is more of a number 2 in a rotation. The ace stuff is a little bit much. I know people hate him even more than that, think he shouldn't be even on a major league roster or whatever they said before the season.
Yeah.
But I do think he benefited. I mean, the team obviously benefits from having Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo healthy and playing, right? But I think him coming in right after Hunter Green or Nick Lodolo, where you have Hunter Green having all that gas and Nick Lodolo having all that break, and then you have a guy who's just placing the ball, it changed things up in a series, or even for our whole pitching staff. It changed things up, and I think some of that is being lost, where it's like, him being the lead guy. This is not a staff right now that has a lot of good gas or stuff. In terms of it's Chase Burns, Brady Singer, innings eater. Williamson, I think, has some nice stuff, but it's obviously not quite as good as Green and Lodolo.
Yeah.
So it's like, again, it's like a solid rotation, and Abbott maybe number 2, and all these other guys are definitely worthy of being where they are, and the young guys are going to struggle at times. It's just that's going to happen for the first couple of years of a career. We saw with Hunter Green for how many years where he would have 3 or 4 really good starts, and he'd have 1 bad start, and then now he's kind of limited a lot more. So, like I said, the team ceiling was definitely given a gut punch with the Lodolo and Green stuff, and they've done a good job battling through to keep us to 9-7 because it's mostly been the pitching. The bullpen's been pretty fine, like you said, Rob, and if we get TJ Antone up here, if he's pitching like that, that's fine too. But, I think the pitching will have a better week this week, and I think the hitting, better start coming along. So, I think it'll be all good. Yeah,
I agree too. I'm very excited for it. Injury updates. Jose Trevino went out early this week with a back injury. It was retroactively put on the IL. They are saying that he's feeling great. He will be back soon. You won't have to watch PJ Higgins, although he has been very solid behind the plate, I would say. He threw a guy out. He's done very well with ABS, and the guys seem pretty comfortable with him. I will just say as well, he looks very comfortable behind the plate. I'm fine with him being our number 3 guy right now, to be honest with you, Joe. He just seems to command the pitching staff well. I know everybody's going to be like, well, they had a bad week. He still has to get kind of used to the guys, but I can just tell you, glove placement-wise, the way he receives the ball, it's very natural. It's very good. If you compare him especially to, the kid in Miami, whatever his name is, Joe. Can't remember his name. Is it Hernandez? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Augustine Ramirez, excuse me. He's sitting there, he's stabbing the ball, right? He's trying to grab it. Higgins was very much receiving, right? And that's what you want from a catcher. So good stuff. That's not saying I don't want Trevino back, because I still think Trevino is much better. But I'm just saying, good on Higgins. He's come up. He got his first hit in 4 years, so good for him on that as well. Lodolo and Ferguson seem to be coming back soon. Apparently the callus is building up very nicely on Lodolo. Maybe that's the key, Joe, is they just got to keep that callus as strong as possible. I don't really know exactly how you do that, but apparently that is the goal right now for him. But it seems like we will be getting at least Caleb Ferguson back this week, which may spell the end of the TJ Antone rumors for right now. But you've got that, and then more importantly, we've got Caleb Ferguson, or excuse me, Nick Lodolo, who I believe they said they're going to do one more bullpen session. Now, I don't know if they're just going to be like, hey, just go into the lineup. Like, who cares about a rehab start? Because, I mean, he was dominant over his 40 pitches. So, you don't have to do rehab starts, by the way. If you feel like a player is good enough, or if it's, down later in the season, you can always bring them back up. They just use rehab starts most of the time to give the player, I think, more time and to test things out, Joe. But I think we should be getting them both back here relatively soon. That may, spell Brandon Williamson down to AAA, unfortunately, but I don't know. I mean, where are you at with Lodolo and Ferguson specifically, and how they're going to fit in?
Yeah, I think the bullpen will be pretty tight. I don't know exactly what the moves are going to make moving forward when people get healthier. For the rotation, same thing. I don't know who they're going to. I mean, I guess Williamson's just the automatic one to go down, but he pitched well this week, like you said, so. That would be kind of my thought process on how things go. I think I would say rehab starts would be good for Lodolo since the last time he had one, he had the issue again. But we'll see. I don't know. I feel like we're 9-7. It'd be nice to have those guys back because the pitching has been the strength, and that would just make things stronger. But as much as I want Lodolo out there, and it's frustrating the situation he's in, I don't want to rush him either. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, they are in a very nice position to where Brandon Williamson is making them have to rethink about how quickly they move Lodolo back. I mean, again, I know he walked 6 guys in that last game. That's fine. I get it. But, like, he really, Joe, I'm going to be honest with you. He looks like a bona fide at least number 5 starter. I think most rotations would love to have him, even as they're probably their 3 or 4 guy in some situations. And I mean that. Like, you guys may call me crazy. I have felt that way about Brandon Williamson since the last time he was up. He has certainly figured something out, and I think that changeup is wicked from the left side. That is a very good pitch. So I'm intrigued to see what they end up doing with this pitching staff. They do have a very nice luxury where, realistically, most of the rest of their bullpen has been really good. And they're not going to be moving Emilio Pagan, who I think has struggled arguably the most. They're not going to be moving him anytime soon. Even if they do move him out of the closer's role for... Which, by the way, it should be Santillan. I don't know why everybody keeps saying that it needs to be Graham Ashcraft. Sorry, but Tony Santillan is 100% needs to be the closer if it's not going to be Emilio Pagan. But that's a topic for a different day. But, I mean, even Brock Burke has come in and been absolutely outstanding. I guess maybe if Sam Mole continues to struggle, you send him down to AAA. But he just kind of had, one bad game. He's been generally very good. So, I don't know, Joe. We'll have to see. We are blessed with pitching, Joe. It's amazing. It's so good to see. And we're not having to rush back Lodolo. Maybe I'll be saying something different next week, but right now, don't feel the need to rush him back. But we will probably see Caleb Ferguson, and with that, I would fully expect us to see, Kyle Nicholas get sent back down to AAA. Like, I wouldn't even be surprised if they can help it if Kyle Nicholas does not pitch in the next 2 days. I believe Ferguson is available to come off the IL by the 15th. So, there's a chance that we could see him on Wednesday, which would be great. Let's get into upcoming games. Joe, we're at that point in the show. Perfect timing. We're doing what we need to do. We are going to be facing off against the Giants this week. As you said, one of the few teams that actually have a worse offense than us, which is impressive, and I would say almost significantly worse, by the way. But you do get Brady Singer versus Robbie Ray. You'll get Rhett Lauder versus Tyler Malley, and then Chase Burns versus Landon Roop. This is a team that Joe has hit. They don't have a single person over 2 home runs. Rafi Devers has been struggling. Willie Adames has been a little bit better than he started off last year, which was awful, but still not great. Matt Chapman has been hitting okay, and Casey Schmidt. Those are their real big ones. Your boy Luis Arias has been at least hitting as he normally does, but for very little power, although he does have 2 triples, which is funny because he's not really known for being that fast. Harrison Bader was supposed to be one of their big offseason signings as well. He is hitting 115, which is not great. Jung-Hoo Lee as well has been hitting pretty awfully. as well. Heliot Ramos, 22 strikeouts to 2 walks. It has been a struggle for them. Then pitching-wise, Robbie Ray's been pretty good. Landon Roop's been pretty good. Tyler Mahle. He's going to give up his runs and stuff like that as well. But their bullpen, Joe, has been shaky, I would say. Some guys have been pretty solid. Others have not. They only have one guy, or they have two different guys with one save each so far this season. It has just been kind of a bad start for these Giants overall. I will say, they are still very much like in it at this point, but they are 6-10. Fans are starting to worry. It's not been great for them.
Yeah, they have a manager they hired from college, Tony Vitello, who, good college guy. I think it is kind of like, I think he's still learning on the fly, obviously, and it's been making things tough for them too. You also don't know if players respect a guy who's never played or coached in any professional baseball. I believe he's just college coaching, and I think kind of plays into something too. But I think the offense still has a lot of potential for them. I think a lot of it is it's a lot of guys who are just not stepping up. Like you said, Rafael Devers is struggling. Gongo Lee is struggling. It's almost like half the team is hitting, half the team isn't in different ways. The pitching isn't quite. It's like, I don't know. It's way worse than ours. It's not going to be able to cover up for the fact that their offense isn't as good. Like you said, Rob, Luis Arias, 3.04 average, 0.3 WAR. Everyone who told me the Reds couldn't use him can go get fucked right now, because guess what? We could use him, and you are an idiot. So that's how it goes. No, the Giants are a team that I think is very beatable. I think if it was later and the hitting gets going for everyone, it's something that might be a tougher matchup. But the way the hitting has gone so far, this is a team that is beatable in a series. I don't think the pitching matchups are too bad. Obviously, we miss Logan Webb, who is traditionally their best pitcher. So, yeah, I think this is a good test for the Reds. Obviously, I think having this off day today on Monday, Rob, is huge for us. I think we need a time, just a second to reset after our opening road trip, and then coming back for that series that I think everyone was pretty excited for, with the bobblehead, with the City Connect jerseys, which we'll talk about here soon probably. But this is it. Yeah, this is a series that is very winnable, despite the Giants having talent. They just haven't played up to it all the way.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I'll point out is they're not walking much, so their at-bats are probably about as bad as ours, at least. They also don't have a lot of speed. Luis Arias is leading the team with 2 steals right now, which is just... I mean, they've really only attempted 6 times. They've only been caught once, but I mean, that's not. You don't have to worry about it. I mean, Harrison Bader's probably their best steal guy, but he's 6 for his first 52. You guys want to complain about Brian Hayes? At least he's still only got 30 something at bats. So a couple hits for him, and it's not bad. And we're not paying him nearly as much as Bader's getting paid, and it's been a struggle for that team overall. I do still worry a little bit about Rafi Devers, Joe, to be honest with you, but the rest of them are right-handed hitters where they're going up against, for the most part, they're going up against our right-handed pitching, which is pretty solid, which is kind of what you would want in this situation. I think this is a huge series for the Reds. I really do. I think Singer needs to bounce back. We've struggled against lefties with Robbie Ray. Obviously, again, I still feel like Tyler Mahle is somebody who I think is very much beatable. And then Landon Roop has been up and down at different points. He's just starting to make the majors for the first time, over the last 2 seasons or so. So I don't know. I'm interested to see what you end up picking. I'm going to go 2-1. Because I think that the bats will get going again. Robbie Ray's been good, but I think he's very much hittable. I think this team definitely has benefited pitching-wise from being at home as well this season, Joe. I think balls will fly out here a little bit more, which could be, again, to our detriment, but our guys know how to pitch here. They haven't given up too many long balls so far this season. Yeah, I'm going to go 2-1. I was tempted to go 3-0, but I really do believe 2-1. I think the bats will get going here starting on Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm going to go with more of rather than what's happening right now. I'm going to go more of what I thought would happen preseason with this Reds team because I think they can figure it out. And then if they burn me this week, Rob, I'll be cynical the whole year. But I'm going to say 2-1. I think there's a decent chance they lose to Robbie Ray. Obviously, a guy who has been around the block a little bit and has a little bit of experience. And if we're going to be the ones who keep on swinging at first pitches that are not very good, he could be
Yep.
one to take advantage of us. So I'll say we lose that game and we win the other two in the series. Those guys maybe not as good as Robbie Ray, especially this year, but maybe not as good and something we can take advantage of. So 2-1. I think our pitching matchups can get better. I think Singer, will settle down in the first game. I think Louder and Burns are not going to have two back-to-back bad starts unless they're tipping pitches, which it didn't seem like for either of them. So,
No.
just saying that because of Burns last year. But no, I think 2-1 is what I'm going to do. And again, I'm going to try to stay positive. Positive vibes only for one more week, and then after that, no more positive vibes.
All right. After that, Joe's ready to burn it down. Twins. We will head to Minnesota for the only time this season, and because of the off day, their pitching is slightly different than ours, which is good and bad. Brandon Williamson will go against Joe Ryan. Andrew Abbott versus Taj Bradley, who has been, I think, a nice surprise for them. And then Brady Singer, he's the one who gets the rotation twice this year against Bailey Ober. This team has been a big surprise. As you talked about, Joe, their offense has been incredible. They have, almost every starter in their lineup has at least one home run, which is not what a lot of teams can say so far this season. They've hit pretty well with runners in scoring position. Their average is still pretty shaky. They don't have a guy batting over 300 who's an everyday player. Austin Martin is batting right at 300, but he's only got 30 at bats. So another team that I think you can take advantage of, but they are patient. And Bell and Martin, and they are probably playing above what is to be expected of them. They are in a rebuild. Their pitching, like I said, Taj Bradley has been really solid this season. 3-0, 1.25 ERA. Joe Ryan's been a little bit worse than he normally is, but a 3.8 ERA still really not too bad. What's funny is that Joe Ryan actually has a lower whip and batting average than Taj Bradley, but Taj Bradley's been better at pitching. In those tough situations. And then Bailey Ober has been hit. He is not striking guys out right now at all. So you can definitely get after him. And then their bullpen has been, I would say okay. I wouldn't say terrible, but okay. They're another team that doesn't seem to have a closer. They have they have 5 people who have a save in Topa, Thunderberg, that is a real name. Cole Sands, Cody Lawrenson or whatever, and then Eric Orz. So don't know who their designated closer is, which can be good and bad, but looks like Topa has gotten the majority of games so far this season. So we will have to see on that. But Joe, where are you feeling? How are you feeling against this team as we head up to Minnesota?
Definitely playing above their pay grade. Josh Bell leads them in almost every offensive category, and Josh Bell's a fine player, but that's a problem if that's the guy who you're counting on.
Correct.
This is this team that I think Minnesota fans are pretty upset with. They've kind of shedded a lot of the talent they had on the roster. They've decided to keep Byron Buxton, so it's not a full teardown, but it was kind of close. And then you get guys like Josh Bell who on he's been bouncing around, kind of filling voids for teams, but not really been a long part of teams' plans for a while. A team, theoretically, they should beat the American League in itself, Rob. They're tied for the top of the American League at 9-7 record. We would be first place in the American League if we were in that league. So
Which is wild.
Crazy how things are going right now. The bullpen is pretty bad so far this year, 5.15 ERA. This is a team, again, I'm going to go based on how I feel preseason, and just crazy things happen the first couple of weeks. Things will seemingly tend to figure itself out one way or the other. I'll say 2-1 in this series, Rob. I'm going to be bold again. It is on the road. We have played better on the road actually this year because we have that Rangers series sweep. So that's good. But I'll say 2-1. I'm hesitant because of everything going on right now. But I think the day off Monday will help. I hope the approach at the plate gets better, and the starters can do a little better too. And these two teams. The Giants have a lot of potential, and they've not shown it. The Twins have shown a lot of potential, but actually don't really have all that potential. So it's going to be kind of fun. And kind of two different teams are going at this week. So 2-1 overall for the Twin series, 2-1 for the Giants. I'll go 4-2 on the week, and just pray that they get there.
I'll get you the 4-2 as well. I think, it's funny. Like week 1, the Reds were really lucky. Week 2, the Reds were really unlucky. If you play the odds, then they should technically be lucky. This week, I do think the hitting turns around. I think the pitching will be a little bit better. I do think Williamson, it depends on which one we're going to get between him and Joe Ryan, but that could be a really fun and interesting matchup. I do worry about poor Abbott having to go up against the best pitcher again in Taj Bradley, who's not even technically their number 1, which is pretty funny for him. But I think, if Josh Bell is their best hitter, he's generally been better lefty. He is a switch hitter. So I'll take that, with Williamson and Abbott there at the top. And then, Bailey, Ober, and Brady Singer going at the same time will, do the things that they do. Sorry, we've got my wife's family dog here, so got a little excited there. But that's kind of what I'm thinking too. So 2-1, 4-2 would be great. Get the Reds to 13-9, which I think a lot of us would be very happy about, and I think would probably be pacing the NL Central at that point. I don't know. We'll have to see. Washington is coming off of a sweep of the Brewers, and they are going to Pittsburgh, so we'll have to see how that goes. But Joe, we're going to end it as we always do with your fun facts of the day, or wise words of wisdom, whichever one you're feeling.
Yeah, you saw the City Connect jerseys this weekend, Rob. They're going to do black jerseys on Friday, and every home Saturday game they're going to do the red. Better than this photo shoot looked. It actually looked better on the field than it did. Yeah. I thought it was stupid to say, we're not going to put stripes on the sleeves because you guys had vests in the past. If you want to admire the fact that we had vests in the past, just make it a vest jersey. The people who make the design descriptions, what are we doing there? I would like white pinstripe pants with the red jerseys better. I do think that this is a jersey that is like the black ones. I like better for fans than I do the players. I think it looks better for the fans wearing them than it does the whole red thing. But it looked better than I thought they would, to be honest. And then we also had the lady in the stands doing her steps. I don't know if you saw that, Rob, in the game yesterday. She was just walking. She was walking in place, getting her steps in during the game. And you know what?
Good for her.
Reds getting their teeth kicked in. What a way to do that. And then, Rob, we did say before the season, bullpen had a chance to be top 5, top 10 in the league. Guess what? Top 5 right now, 2.89 ERA. Again, there have been some frustrations with Pagan, with Pierce Johnson at different points, but for the most part, the Reds bullpen has held things down for this team in a way that the starters get a lot of the credit, but the bullpen at this point needs to get a lot of the credit, which means this week they're gonna end up not doing as well. Since I said that, but wanted to point that out and give them some props while we can. So good for them to be top 5.
Pierce Johnson has been much better in the last 8 games or whatever. He has been significantly better. Even Pagan has gotten much stronger than that one outing that he had last week or 2 weeks ago. So we'll take it. Yeah, hopefully the bullpen can continue to do what they're doing. And like I said, they're getting reinforcements. Kyle Nicholas has been did not look good yet again. And even though he technically didn't give up an earned run, so you do that and get that addition. And you give Caleb Ferguson back, and I think this bullpen and this pitching staff, Joe, they can go places. If this offense can, like I said, just be league average or even a little bit below it, this team is going to go places. Even the big pundits are starting to talk about it. They're like, hey, you better watch out for this Reds team because they will hit. I promise you they will hit, whether it's they bring up Hines and Blade or whether it's the other guys start figuring it out, which I think that they will, honestly. This team will hit, and if you continue to have Sal Stewart hitting around 300, which I think he will, and if you continue to have Elly start to really figure it out from the right side, which means he's going to get a lot more lefty at-bats because teams are not going to just go lefty against him, then this team's offense still has that potential, Joe. I'm still giving it to 100 at-bats. That's what matters to me most. So if you're going, 4 at-bats a game, that's 10 more games for me. They got 10 games for me to figure it out. By the time that they get to 100, if they're still batting 120, then I'm going to have some very serious issues. So we will see what happens, but that is going to do it for us here as the dog gets excited once again. So from our house to yours, thanks for watching, and we will catch you on the next one.